Hello everybody, welcome back to the Slumber Party. Today we're going to do a little research on archaeological sites in archaeological, I always spelled that wrong, New Hampshire. Specifically, they wanted us to check out America's Stonehenge. So what is America's Stonehenge? Because I've also heard of another one in Georgia. America's Stonehenge is a privately owned tourist attraction, an archaeological site consisting of a number of large rocks and stone structures scattered around roughly 30 acres or 12 hectares within the town of Salem, New Hampshire. In the United States, it is open to the public for a fee as part of a recreational area which includes snowshoe trails and an alpaca farm. My family has roots in New Hampshire, and I remember growing up as a child, my aunt had a friend with an alpaca farm in New Hampshire. Pretty funny. A number of hypotheses exist as to the origin and purpose of the structures. One viewpoint is a mixture of land use practices of local farmers in the 18th and 19th centuries and construction of structures by owner William Goodwin, an insurance executive who purchased the area in 1937. Some claim that the site has a pre-Columbian European origin, but this is regarded as pseudo-archaeological. Archaeologist David Starbuck has said it is widely believed that Goodwin may have created much of what is visible at the site today. The site was first dubbed Mystery Hill by William Goodwin. This was the official name of the site until 1982, when it was renamed America's Stonehenge, a term coined in a news article in the early 1960s. The rebranding was an effort to separate it from roadside oddity sites and to reinforce the idea that it is an ancient archaeological site. The area is named after Stonehenge in England, although there is no evidence of cultural or historical connection between the two. It is mentioned as Mystery Hill on New Hampshire Historical Marker number 72. So I also found, let's check out this picture. Wow. I also found this. Built by Native American culture or a migrant, I'll leave a link to this website. Built by Native American culture or a migrant European population, no one knows for sure. A maze of man-made chambers, walls, and ceremonial meeting places at over 4,000-year-old America's Stonehenge is likely the oldest man-made construction in the United States. Like Stonehenge in England, America's Stonehenge was built by ancient people well-versed in astronomy and stone construction. It has been determined that the site is an accurate astronomical calendar. It was and still can be used to determine specific solar and lunar events of the year. Various inscriptions have been found throughout the site, including Agam, Phoenician, and Iberian Punic script. Wow. Dr. Barry Fell of Harvard University did extensive work on the inscriptions found at the site. They are detailed in his book, America BC. I have to buy that. Orientation film. All visitors are invited to watch the 11-minute introductory film before touring the site. If you wish to watch the film before you visit, you may do so here. Please note the video is only visible on our website for the time being while we figure out the best way to safely show the video in our theater. Cool. Let's check out some of these pictures and maybe we'll watch some of the film. Look at that lining up perfectly. That's cool. An equinox ritual on Saturday, September 25th. Let's go up there. Very cool. Very cool. Ancient. There's the alpacas. Cute little guys. It'd be so cool to do that. I want to do that. I think this was the first picture. Yeah. Let's watch some of this video. Alright, so let's watch this for the third time now. You guys don't know that, but yeah, I've actually had to film this 3 times. Alright, let's do it.
On a mysterious granite hill in southern New Hampshire rest a series of stone structures. Who built them and why? Was it a stone calendar intended to mark the seasons for agriculture? Did it serve as a religious site for rituals long forgotten? When settlers first colonized the New World in the 17th century, they discovered that they were not the first.
Well, I'm standing in the Patty area, and actually standing inside Patty's cellar hole. And Seth Patty Sr. bought a piece of this hilltop back in 1734. And 10 years later, he bought another piece of the property, which we think actually included the site.
In 1802, Jonathan Patty inherits the property from his mother. A civic-minded man provided shelter to the town paupers.
We think he actually was involved with the Underground Railway, helping the slaves escape from the South, going north to Canada. And it was illegal to help the slaves escape to freedom. In the 1930s, during the early excavation of the site, they found a manacle on the site. The wall behind me at one time stopped right behind me. And if you look at it, you can see where the wall was sectioned in. And on this side, it's faced in very, very nicely. So if a federal agent came in here and he had heard rumors that Patties were abolitionists, he could come into the cellar, look around, and all he would see is a solid wall.
In the summer of 1936, William Goodwin arrives on the site. Credited with being the savior of this important site, Goodwin buys it in April of 1937.
William Goodwin was the first person to start archaeological research at this site. He hired a crew to clean the structures of debris and brush, and after that they began restoration of some of the chambers and walls. After he died in 1950, the archaeology again picked up, and that's the time my dad first heard of the site.
In 1957, Robert Stone, an electronics engineer by trade, acquires the site, and in 1958 opens it to the public.
The place was called the Stone Ruins of New Hampshire, and the next year we changed the name to Mystery Hill Caves.
When Bob Stone got involved, I believe in the 1950s, and started purchasing the land here, I don't think he had an appreciation of how large the site was.
"4,000 years ago, strangers arrived at America's Stonehenge. An unknown group of people skilled in astronomy and megalithic stoneworking technology."
There are many architectural features on this site, as well as others located throughout New England, that resemble ancient megalithic sites of Western Europe, including this chamber we call the V-Hut, which resembles some of the wedge tombs of ancient Ireland.
Megalithic construction in archaeology involves one or several roughly quarried stone slabs of great size. It is usually associated with prehistoric sites.
The important thing is that the stone itself is consistent with many of the other larger stones that we see in this area. So it comes out of that era of stone quarrying where they're quarrying very large blocks out of the local bedrock, really right within this area. We're looking at the top edge of the quarried stone, and the first feature that sort of strikes one's eye are these points and scallops that go along the edge of this, a sort of serration in the stonework. This indicates that they were working this with a stone hammer. Every time you see these indentations is where they were working with a stone hammer on the edge of this stone, which they did all the way up to the top. Gary Hume, who was the state archaeologist at the time, looked at it and said it was unmistakable. What we were looking at was a stone that had been shaped with lithic technology. This is a stone that's probably been quarried off the bedrock. It's got a cut base, and it sits in a little trough in the back with gravel as its base, and then behind it there's a stone wall. The other thing that's interesting about this stone is that it's been sculpted in such a way that these are all worked edges along here. This shoulder and everything has been shaped. And then this midriff here actually creates an axis to the weight of the stone as it's sitting in the contour to the hill, so that it's remarkably stable. Even though it's just a standing stone standing up all by itself, it's solid as a rock.
The amount of work involved to quarry the stone, transport the stone, lift it up and put it into place, as you can tell on some of these structures. That amount of work was not something that a colonial farmer would have been involved in.
Well, archaeoastronomy is looking at archaeological structures, as you see about you here at America's Stonehenge. And many of the structures that are here, for example, this large wall that's right here beside me, to my left, your right, as you look at it, is a north-south wall. And it's not a coincidence that it's a north-south wall. That's the connection between archaeology and astronomy. It's linking the two sciences together. The precession, as the Earth wobbles on its axis, as the Earth actually revolves about the sun, it's not unlike a top. If you spin a top, you know that as it begins to slow down, it starts to wobble. And the Earth is doing that same thing. It's the Earth's north-south axis that's beginning to wobble. What that means is that the North Pole of the Earth points at different stars over that 26,000-year cycle. One of the astronomically significant sunrises is the summer solstice sunrise. That's when the sun rises as far north as it's going to rise during the whole course of the year.
So the changing of the Earth's tilt actually helps us date the site, basically because the Earth has shifted on its axis over the last several thousand years. So if you look out at our alignments, our solar alignments, they actually don't line up perfectly with the site or with the sun anymore. For instance, the summer solstice sunrise alignment behind me, the sun actually rises just to the right of the stone now, whereas 4,000 years ago it would have been straight on. We also date the site using basically just looking at the construction of the site for one. The site was mainly used stone-on-stone construction. We use shovel test pits, and we also use carbon-14 dating, where we're looking at organic material that was left on the site.
Carbon-14 is the rarest carbon isotope which occurs naturally. Nitrogen-14 atoms in the atmosphere are hit by the sun and changed into carbon-14. Plants absorb the carbon-14, and animals then eat the plants. Once a living thing dies, carbon-14 begins to decay at a predictable rate. Dating involves measuring the rate of decay in the carbon-14 isotope and comparing it to the number of steady-state carbon-12 atoms. Everything which was once alive can be measured this way.
That radiocarbon dating came out about 4,000 years ago also. So that would check with the astronomical alignments being slightly off as well due to the Earth's precession. So you've got two means of determining approximately the site of the construction, the date of the construction of this particular site.
So not only do we know that the site is ancient, I also made a discovery on Google Earth a few years ago. So I was using, they have this line feature where you could draw a line from one point to the other. And I was using that to kind of extend the lines out in the alignments because I knew that there was a few other alignments further out, a few marker stones further out, and I wanted to see if those lined up with the ones that we already knew about. And one in particular I was looking at was the summer solstice sunrise alignment. So I started extending that line out, and I ended up basically extending that all the way out across the Atlantic Ocean. And I noticed that passed right through southern England. I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. So I know Stonehenge is basically right along that line somewhere. And I started zooming in further, and all of a sudden I realized that that thing actually goes right through the trilithon, or one of the trilithons, right down the middle of Stonehenge.
What is the answer to the mysteries on a hill at America's Stonehenge? A walk down the clearly marked nature trail will begin your journey into New England's ancient history.
So pretty cool, you guys. I'll leave a link below to the site. You can check it out if you want. And that's going to do it for us today. Hope you guys smash the like button. Comment below places you'd like to go exploring with me together. And subscribe. See you guys very soon. Peace and love.